Welcome back. It is exactly 9:28 a.m. News and views on Salam Media. Next, we're going to be talking with the party leader of what was known as the People's Alliance, have now changed their name. We're going to ask why and what the new name is all about. And are they truly burning the midnight oil as far as the elections are concerned on the 29th of this month? A very good morning to you, Samuel H. Kennedy. We understand that you were reconfirmed as party leader to drive the name change and the new logo, including direction of the party. So, what was happening previously to all of this that the party has decided that you need a new logo, you need a name change, etc., and hopefully that will almost refresh people who have voted for you in the past?
Salam, Julie. Thank you very much for the opportunity. And bright and breezy Monday morning here in Cape Town.
Oh, wow.
The rationale behind the name change was primarily to do with us being too close to the Patriotic Alliance. So they were PA, we were PAL, and it was creating a lot of confusion, and we were losing voters, they were gaining voters, and we thought it appropriate that we do a refresh. Two, we needed to be synergized with voters, meaning most of our voters in South Africa are very conservative, in the sense that we all believe in the supreme being, we all are value driven, we all have morals and values and principles, which makes us conservative. And that was basically the rationale or the impetus behind it. And it enabled us also to remodel, redirect, refresh, give us a better outlook in terms of logo. I think we've got the best logo of all the 52 political parties on the ballot.
I think everybody will claim that. All the political parties will claim that. But good on you for saying it out loud.
That's what especially the women, especially what the female and the women ladies tell us. We fresh, we look brisk, and we're tractable.
That's wonderful. And I mean, you're smiling all the time. Whilst talking with me this morning, you seem to be a very affable character, and I have no doubt in my mind that people are drawn to you. Let's hope they're drawn to your party as well. So let's understand what's your manifesto all about.
My manifesto, well, I'm the leader of the party, so our manifesto is basically one of nation building, national reconciliation, one of patriotism, one of moving away from this majoritarianism system, one of protection of minority rights, because we can see thus far that our rights as minorities is being eroded all over. It's a score system which people of colored origin or mixed race origin, people of the Muslim faith, the Hindu faith, which are defined, which we don't like, as Indian. We're being isolated, we're being ostracized, we're being marginalized. And so our emphasis is on minority rights, protection of, and fundamentally is the protection of property rights. We own property, a lot of our people own property, you know that. And we don't subscribe to the notion of land expropriation without compensation. We believe that this constitution was crafted in howsoever others feel otherwise. And we must stick to what the tenets of the constitution are, which is protection of minority rights, protection of property rights, and the right to every one of our people having employment or economic opportunities. And lastly, our emphasis is on primarily the some intervention, but some practical, urgent intervention on the gender-based violence, systematic violence against women and children, in particular the aged. I'm in the Western Cape, and I've been told across the spectrum how people without medical aid, how people who don't have funding to healthcare are being left to die because government or state-funded hospitals just don't have the wherewithal to help them. So that's a sad, sad part of life. And if I can just say also, the critical thing, which I said on a debate at SABC the other day, we've got to look at a generic system that the credit score system at the moment has precluded all our people from access to finance, access to financial opportunities, access to economic opportunities, and we've got to reduce tax. That's what conservatism is all about. Reduction of taxes, which is VAT, personal income tax, corporate tax, business tax, and in particular, tax on petrol.
I can't agree with you more. And I think that the rich seem to be getting richer, and perhaps the tax system need to be focused on the rich people because they can afford to be taxed. And we as the working class are being taxed, and we are hardly able to take enough money back home to put bread on the table. So I like what you're saying there. You touched on GBV, and thus far all of the political parties that I've spoken with haven't touched on the issue of why do we sit with such high rates of GBV. And I think when we go to the root cause, it's about alcoholism and drug addiction and gangsterism, very particularly in the township areas. No political party has touched on that, and the police service in South Africa. And I'm very, very disappointed that enough focus has not been placed on those ills in our society. What's your take on it?
I think the issue is a fewfold, as you know, my sister, and one of them is access to economic opportunities. We can't have a government that only operates on a 16-day activism on gender-based violence. Gender-based violence is an endemic in our society. It needs to be dealt with, and government, sadly, doesn't have, I use this expression called square pegs in round holes. We just, because of ostracization and sidelining of minorities with expertise, we put people in who don't have the passion, the capacity, the vibrancy to deal with certain issues. I look at areas like Mitchell's Plain. I was in Paarl last night. I was in Ceres the other day. I was in Worcester. It's just generically across the country in minority areas. We've just failed our health system, our social system. We think that a 350 grant is the only thing that will appease our people. Our people need jobs. They need compassion. They need an honest government. They need, in fact, honest leaders. And we need to hold state employees to account, because they the people that are isolating, pushing aside our people, in particular minorities. And that is why our kids, our communities are so intertwined and entangled in drugs. We don't have an ability to get them out of school into work. And that's our issue.
Let me talk to you about two very important other issues that you raised a few minutes ago. That is property rights and land expropriation. My understanding was always that the land expropriation would be farmlands, rural areas, etc. You've just, by having spoken about property rights, leads me to believe that you and I, as ordinary homeowners, as minority groups, are also at risk. Can you expand on that, please?
I think, and allow me to say this. I did a little bit of research, and part of the research that I did was and I'm going to leave this to the public. Look at the Argentinian system. It's called the 20 tenets of Peronism. Another word for it is justicialism. And everything that's happening in South Africa has happened in Argentina to the T.
Wow.
To the T. And we're heading towards being one of the highest inflation countries in the world, no different to Argentina, no different to Cuba. Now, coming back to the issue of property rights, once we concede, because we need to resist, because it's a big topic and it's not an easy topic and it needs extensive consultation before we can just whimsically appropriate the word expropriation. So we need to be more mindful and engage more deeper and engage more extensively on what are the majority saying when they talk about property rights. Now we know, if they talk about state-funded, if they talk about government land, if they talk about farmland, we know that not much of it has value, like property rights. Property rights have high-rise buildings. Property rights have high rates value. We know, like happened in Zimbabwe, we know, like happened in many socialist countries around the world, we know the target ultimately is the rights of property owned by minorities in particular. And that's what we are asking for, that we will not concede to anything associated or related to land expropriation until it has been ventilated, until it has been properly consult with our communities across the spectrum, not just over one election timetable or one election epoch, but it must be done over a period of time, and society must agree, because remember, we are representatives of society, and they must say, now we're comfortable, right, in the logic or the adage that democracy is driven by people and not by politicians.
You talk about, I think the word you used earlier on, and I think it had to do with majority, something to do with the majority of the country and the mindset of the majority. You used a specific word regarding majority. Can you just mention that word again and tell me exactly what you meant by that? Is it about the majority perhaps taking over minority rights? Would I be correct in understanding it in that way?
Sister Julie, allow me to say, politically or political ideology is premised on majority rules, correct? So in other words, in this country, that's why we're fighting for the protection of minority rights. 7.8 out of every 10 people in this country are defined as African or black, even although we're defined as black. Now, if you recall, Jacob Zuma stood up in Parliament a few years ago while he was still president, and he said, these are, and I quote, he said, this is a funny democracy. He said, because we have 66% or 62% of the vote, but we can't exercise the right of the majority. In essence, what he was referring to, and he's still doing it now in MK, if you listen to his statement on Saturday, he's saying that majoritarianism must rule and minorities must be subjected to the decisions of the majority. So if the majority say, even if they say what's wrong, so whatever he believes the majority says must be implemented. And that's where we differ. We're saying constitutionally, the rights of all individuals in South Africa is sacrosanct, is equal, is equitable, has nothing to do with majoritarianism. Constitutionalism is individualism. and protection of minority rights and majority rights is enshrined in the Constitution, but cannot be overridden just because 8 out of 10 or 6 out of 10 believe that is the way to go. That's our position.
Okay, so obviously he is of the majority, and we know what's happened in the current ANC government. It was all about cadre deployment, and that grouping of people represent the majority of the country. And look what they've done. They brought the country literally to its knees due to all their thieving, corrupt practices, tenderpreneurship, and the list goes on. So I think they need to get that right first before they tackle the minority and, talk about and wanting to expropriate land and property, etc., etc., etc. We are running out of time. My final question to you then is, who is funding your party?
That's a good question. I've not received 1 cent from anybody. Everything we've done has been out of our own pockets. We've got a team of people who've made contributions and sacrifices, which is more like it. And I'm saying humbly, because we believe in the Supreme Being. We are humble before our people, and we are saying every cent, and we swear an oath that every cent that we've contributed thus far has not been given by any business, any person, any lobbyist. It's been funded out of our own pockets, and they must send us to government because we've got no baggage. We owe nobody. We're not slaves of any individual, and we will do what needs to be done to protect the rights of our people.
Samuel H. Kennedy, thank you indeed for your thoughts this morning. Good luck in the upcoming elections.
Thank you.
Undoubtedly, we're going to have many more discussions post the elections. You speak from the heart, and I hope and pray that you guys do well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sister Julie. God bless you.
Thank you, and you. It is exactly 9:46. News and Views moving up. Our final interview of the morning is the Bella Bull. We are going to be talking with someone who is very passionate about this, as is all of us. She is Casey Garrity, a qualified registered educator. And of course, this is an issue very, very close to her heart. Please stay with us.